Storm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. My name is Trevor Scott, and with me, as always, is Ben Slinger.
Hello, and welcome to the end of 2022.
Yes, this is the final episode that we are recording in 2022. This episode will come out in 2023.
This is true. This
is the Game of the Year episode of 2022. As is tradition.
Yes, as is tradition. We will be going over some of the games that we played. Now, we do tend to have eclectic tastes. You might not have heard of all of these games. As our ongoing listeners will know, we tend to troll the dark web for some of the dark indie devs who bring out their dark games there. So we'll go through over a couple of those tonight. That's a sentence.
Yeah. So there'll be no particular order. These are just what we consider to be the cream of the crop. If we have time, there will be a list of these. These are ones that we reckon you should check out at the end of. But cool. These are our absolute favorites. So,
do you want me to?
I might start.
Yeah, you can go first. Go ahead.
I really love the game Surprise Badminton Trainer.
Was that VR one?
Yeah, so it was the game where you were kind of going along, doing your own business, doing some regular sort of like cleaning stuff, and then all of a sudden the trainer would come out of nowhere and go surprise and start you just all of a sudden be in a badminton,
just whack a cock right at you.
You whack a cock right at you. There was something about it, like just the mediocrity of getting the kids ready for school and, doing some regular sort of things like cutting the lunches. Then all of a sudden it's like, surprise. And you got a badminton racket in your hand. You're all of a sudden having to play.
I did, cause I watched you play it a bit. I did like the way.
Well, you didn't have your VR set up. So
no, but I saw your gameplay and I did like the way that the badminton racket would just kind of grow out of your hand. And knock anything flying, some of the great use of physics in VR, which is always nice. That was kind of cool. Yeah, look, I thought this one looked really fun and, merging it with that kind of life sim in that way, was a cool twist.
Yeah. And just the fact that no matter where you were, you just didn't know what would become the net, what would become, what even the shuttlecock would start out as. There could be a bowl coming towards you and all of a sudden it turns into like this feathers coming out from behind and it sort of shrinks and it's like, oh my God, it's a shuttlecock now and surprise. The announcer every single time, surprise.
Yeah, there's some good voice work in there for sure. It was cool. And then the multiplayer, again, I didn't have mine set up. But
so I just played against bots most of the time.
Yeah, but I liked the way that there was almost a spy party aspect of it then, where you'd be out in a crowd and you didn't know who your opponent was going to be. Yeah, until again the announcer kind of came out, surprise, and then you'd have to look around. Who else has got a fucking badminton racket?
And sometimes you weren't near each other.
No,
you could
fancy.
If you weren't near the net, because you didn't know what the net was going to be, it's just this big green highlighted object.
Yeah.
I mean, one time we were in this amazing looking fountain area, and I'm looking around everywhere, and I look up, and there's this fountain, and at the very top, he had outstretched arms, and the outstretched arms were highlighted in green. It's God damn it, the net is so damn high.
Yep.
And so,
well, then he really had to make use of all those power shots and those the boosts that you could pick up and that sort of thing.
I mean, it really was a pretty cool single player game. Going through, it had those poignant things like when you're in the hospital and you're looking after your sick mother, and then all of a sudden the doctor comes in the room. And surprise, you're now playing badminton against the doctor, and you're playing over your mum.
Yeah, but she's loving it.
She's loving it.
On her face, it gave her a new lease
she's
of
doing
life.
the scorekeeping. She's got all of a sudden she's got the little scorekeeper thing, and she's putting the numbers over as you're playing. And
she didn't like it when you lost though.
No, because if you lost, she died.
Yeah, that was
it was sort of. Like, it was a weird choice that they had.
They did it in a comical kind of way, but it was a bit dark.
Yeah. I mean, it was a bit dark when literally the shuttlecock got stuck in her throat. That's how it always ended. If you that's it.
She was just there for a sprained foot, but she died when you lost.
Yeah,
because she choked
on cock. Shuttle of the shuttle variety.
I realised where that was going halfway through that sentence. Thank you for finishing it for me, Trevor. I'm not sure you should have. Let's move on, shall we?
On an aside, I did set that up for that exact reason.
Okay, well, you got me with it. It's your mother.
It's the character's mother. Come on.
Yeah, but they get no. So
it's only if you lose. You just don't lose.
They connected to your Facebook and got it. That's not. Okay.
Yeah,
let's move on. My first game that I want to talk about. This was a cool, like, narrative one. 2132 : beta.
Ooh. I do remember you playing a bit of this.
Yeah, so it was. I'm not usually into this type, but it was kind of a, what do you call, like a top-down RPG, Zelda-ish sort of, like old school Zelda-ish, almost like an RPG Maker-ish sort of thing. But what was cool about it, and I didn't get spoiled going in, but I'd heard some inklings that it sort of shifted things up because, and this is spoiler, but it's sort of there in the title. It's set in 2132. With all the sort of futuristic kind of technology and stuff that you would expect. But then after you kind of go through your first couple of missions, which, as in these games are often little mundane sort of things, go out into the town and meet the people, you kind of start seeing these glitches start appearing.
Oh, because it's a beta.
Because it's a beta.
Yeah. And so therefore you don't expect it to be 100% there, but it's actually built into the game this way that there were supposed to be glitches, is it? Or
well, no, the point is that you are actually like in a simulation, but it's the beta version of that simulation.
Of 2132.
Yeah, it's actually 2022. Yeah, of 2132, exactly. You go through one of those glitches and sort of find yourself in 2022, where this kind of, nerdy genius in her basement has built literally a universe simulation, has been building this artificial intelligence.
Wow.
And it shifts perspectives. So it goes from that, RPG Maker style thing literally into like a 3D third person adventure-y kind of, almost a Life is Strange sort of vibe. Okay.
And then it switches back and forth between those two.
Yeah, because
as you haven't really been properly ejected from the reality. So every time you close your eyes, you're kind of flicking back into
that reality. Get those moments of flicking, because of sort of, there's a whole thing, but like you're tethered to the game, essentially to the universe.
And the character that you play in the game is like another version of you, and therefore like,
yeah, it's a real interesting thing because you're essentially your character's consciousness. It's almost a bit of, did you ever see The 13th Floor?
Yes, I absolutely fucking love that film.
It's a great movie. A little bit of that where sort of,
Jesus Christ, I want to go watch that
your
again.
Friend had, or the genius's friend, you essentially had connected in to inhabit one of the characters in the game in that sort of way, but then the glitch meant that the character's consciousness made its way back out into your brain.
Yeah.
And so that's why you get like the flickering and stuff. Yeah. So anyway, it was really cool.
Yeah. Why'd you have to remind me about that fucking movie? Because I haven't watched it in ages and I've got it on DVD. So
I know. It's a good
I've
one.
actually got that on DVD.
That was in that like key era of some great sci-fi because it was like 98, 99. It was like around the Matrix time.
Yeah. It was. And when I first saw it, I didn't know what I was going in for because I didn't read anything up on it. I just saw it and I'm like, the twist sort of came out of nowhere for me. And I'm like, oh my God, like that just blew my mind. Like,
99 really was. What year was
the thing is, I can't remember enough about it that I don't want you to tell me more about it right now.
There were so many fucking good, like formative sci-fi movies in 99. Because The Matrix was 99, 30th Floor was 99, Existence was 99.
Ooh,
and when was, what was that other one? The, 2 words. Kiefer Sutherland's in it. Do you know what I mean?
Don't remember.
Dark City, 98.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen Dark City in a long time.
Anyway, so that was 2132 beta.
Yeah.
Beta. I don't know, however you want to say it.
Yeah, I think it's beta because it is Greek.
I say sometimes beta though, but yeah, it probably is beta.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. My first couple of games are definitely going on a bit of a sport thing, but I really did enjoy the dystopian adventure, Beautiful Lacrosse. Yeah.
So this is sort of a Stardew Valley-esque, almost sort of like, did you ever play Golf Story?
Yeah.
Yeah, this was sort of like a lacrosse adventure in like a dystopic future, but through lacrosse, you were trying to, make everything right and make everything just beautiful.
Right. Yeah. Using your skill with the lacrosse baton,
stick and net, whatever.
To heal the world.
Yeah, and a lot of the time, you'd be going around showing you how good you are with the stick and net, and just launching the balls out and catching different things, and because you're not just firing out the balls, but you're also catching the balls back. Unlike Golf Story, where you are just launching the golf balls out.
Yeah, I mean the difference between lacrosse and golf are few and far between, but that is one of them. And I liked the way they kind of implemented some of those timing mechanics and that sort of thing. It reminded me a lot of, did you ever play Dodgeball Academia?
Yes.
Yeah, that sort of thing with a lot of the RPG-ish kind of moving around, but then you'd have the matches, but they had some stakes because of the story,
Yeah.
Which I thought was quite cool.
Yeah, and I don't know, there was just the fact that instead of like in Stardew Valley, which was all pixel-based animation, this was more, fully realized 3D, but just still that same like view from above. Yeah,
and I liked that you got to, build up your gym, your lacrosse gym, and the grounds around it, and as you would build new types of buildings that would help you upgrade and train better and that sort of thing, as well as help out the surrounding, areas. And I like that you eventually got that world map to really show how much your influence had spread.
Yeah. And you could almost see like the beautifulness just with the grass and the flowers and shit just creeping out from your area into like this, all the desert and all this sort of stuff around,
wastelands.
all the wastelands, and
the
rundown cities that all of a sudden got overgrown with vines and shit. Like,
I did find it a little bit creepy how kind of cult-like the following was, which they didn't really address. It was just sort of taken as a given that once your influence had expanded far enough, they essentially worshipped your team. Which, could have been an interesting take on sports team worship and that sort of thing, but they just sort of played it really straight, and so it kind of just came across as weird and creepy. But
did it came across, or did it came lacrosse?
It came lacrosse as. But that was my only real criticism about it.
Yeah, I just loved it.
It's very satisfying.
The gameplay loop was satisfying. It looked amazing. Audio, it had it.
Oh yeah,
really good.
The real thwook as you caught the thing in your net. Oh,
and just the fact that you were thinking, oh yeah, this could be sort of like stylized rendering because, for the most part it was from up on high.
Yeah.
But then when the camera swooped down,
yeah.
it's like,
In those
no,
power
this
shots.
whole thing is literally all rendered in 3D at all times. Like, it's just, it was gorgeous.
Yeah, they made good use of that in those key moments for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my next game that I wanted to talk about was Trapped in Heaven. Now,
I do remember this one. This is an early 22
this is
game.
earlier in the year, yeah.
Yeah.
Who would have thought mixing up essentially Home Alone and Heaven would work as a game? But it does. It's a little bit blasphemous, but you do play Jesus Christ. And God has left your dad. He's gone out. He's left you home alone. And you decide that you're a little bit creeped out. You play like basically a child version of Jesus.
Oh, so baby version. Baby Jesus.
Well, no, not like baby Jesus in the manger.
Oh, not. Oh, so around the time when he found out, which was like, what, around 10 years old?
Exactly. Yeah.
That the Archangel Gabriel came down and talked to him and said,
this is not an accurate retelling of anything. It's very much just sort of utilizing, let's just say the backlash from the Christian community was probably well deserved if you believe that this sort of thing is blasphemy. But I liked it as a game. Because, like setting up traps at the pearly gates and the fact that then this version of Heaven also had pearly windows, pearly basement doors, pearly attics, like
pearly chimney,
exactly. And that you were able to sort of just like set up your traps. And it was a very, what's the orcs must die kind of situation, like as all the souls tried to get into heaven and you just had to have positioned these traps well enough to fend them off and knock them out of heaven, presumably down to hell. They didn't clarify,
potentially,
but
either way, clouds. It's amazing that there's some solid clouds and then there's some clouds that you just fall right through. Like,
well, that's it. And I like the fact that essentially when you like lowered their HP to 0, they just poof through the clouds, like fall. Yeah. Sometimes, and if you did it well, like they had those, the holier souls coming in would have an area of effect as you took them out. I guess just because of their sort of holy influence, and more of the clouds would disappear and you could like lose a bunch of people all at once. And just have them fall. And those flames would kind of burst up. So I guess they did kind of imply that it was hell, but
I think, that end part of the level where the devil did actually come up and take some of the souls and give, JC a bit of a fist bump. And
yeah, I guess they did make that. I forgot about that. That was a good little, end of level sort of thing though.
Because, as we all know that God and the devil, like, God loves the fact that, God loves the fact that the devil looks after all the bad souls. So God doesn't have to do it. Like,
and look, if you can't get past a fiendish series of traps, then to get into heaven, then clearly you don't deserve it and you're bad and you go to hell.
Yeah. They did leave it open for a sequel though. Have you heard anything from the devs as to whether they are working on one or? I know we reached out to these guys and they
we tried to get them on the pod. But they are over there in
deep underground. Yeah,
the deep web. We couldn't quite tell where they were based, but I don't think it was Australia. Maybe deep Australia.
Yeah. Like that weird cave that is underneath most of Australia that has like all the like whatever
the drop bears hibernate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there could be some devs down there, I guess. But no, they did.
If they're drop bears.
I did see an inkling of a sequel. They pivoted pretty hard, actually. You'd think they'd keep with kind of the heaven of the Christian sort of thing. But no, it did actually seem like they were trying to do an actual spiritual sequel to Home Alone directly. And they kind of had a kid called Bevan McAllister, and I don't know. It looks a bit derivative to me.
Yeah. Can I talk about my next one?
Yeah, definitely.
Suburban Princess. I really, really liked that game. I thought it took the idea of, royalty in general and brought it down to a relatable level.
Yeah.
And to make it a 3D collectathon as like a Super Mario 64 or a Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah.
Where you're literally going through like an urban neighborhood collecting like coins and all that sort of stuff. And
crown jewels.
And basically building up your castle.
I did like
within
that.
suburbia.
Yeah, look, I think there's not enough new collectathon platformers with new IPs, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely.
So many of them have come out of trying to either reboot or just sequels to existing ones. So that was really cool to see. And yeah, I love that it had that customization element of your kind of hub world as you build that castle up.
Yeah. But it's
really
like,
cool.
it's not even a big castle. Like it's sort of just building up.
It's a modest 3-bedroom.
Yes. It's building up what she calls the castle. And it's sort of almost based off around, the typical Australian neighborhoods. Because again, this was Australian devs, made in Unity, which I found unusual. I expected it to be made in Unreal because they did go for what looked like pretty high quality
shaders and stuff.
But no, it was all done in Unity.
Yeah, they've definitely
really
used the tech well. And it was smooth. Like it played really well. The platforming mechanics.
60 frames a second, ray traced, all that sort of stuff. Like,
the reflections on her crown, which they were made out of big hands, but but it looked great.
Yeah, but when she put those, bottle tops as well as like the little jewels, like, especially with that central crown lager, like.
I mean, what else can you have there?
Yeah.
Look,
the jewel of the crown.
I felt they did a pretty good job of not going too far into the kind of stereotype of a bit of bogany kind of thing, because that's sort of what you think of when you think of people who consider themselves royalty out in the suburbs.
Yeah, I mean, look, she started off in flannel.
Yeah,
but
that was
just a little nod.
Yeah, and you upgrade over time and get your higher quality.
I really loved her catchphrase. Her catchphrase.
Yeah,
where she just yelled out "Dilly Gaff."
Yeah, exactly. I found it a little annoying, the amount of times they used it. It was funny the first time. I feel like they relied on that a little bit too much, but they recorded a lot of versions of it. That was good. The sound itself was not too.
If you did 100% each level, you did get a new catchphrase. So
locking that behind that level of okay.
See, I unlocked the first one. I got everything in the first level. So I got Did You Bring Your Grog Along? And then I think that was the only one I got. But again, they did like 15 different versions of that as well. So just then it added 2 more things that she like. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was good.
Anything else that you can remember? The music was amazing. All Australian artists.
They did line up some good tracks in there. Yeah.
I don't know whether they fully.
I think did Powderfinger record a new song for this?
I kind of think they stole all the. I think they kind of stole all the audio because some of those. I did hear a one of those what's it called, watermarked tracks as it was playing. It's like
a Spotify.
This is playing from LimeWire or whatever.
I guess you can get away with that on the dark web. So
yeah,
good on them, I suppose.
But yeah, all Australian tracks. It was just
the spirit,
good quality stuff. And I noticed the one thing that we as Australians know that there is a difference between the Australian dialects.
Yeah,
and this was definitely a more southern dialect. It wasn't that typical ochre Aussie. It was it was more of a Melbourne suburbs.
They called it a palmer, not a palmy.
Yeah.
Potato cake, not a scallop.
Yeah. It was a pint. So you knew that it wasn't, Adelaide because they don't have pints there. Or if they do, they call them imperial pints. And it's like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah. So there definitely felt like there was a bit of that kind of state rivalry almost. They made it very specific.
Yeah.
To that sort of thing. But, it's a bit of fun.
But in a city suburb, it was good.
Yeah. Let's go. All right, my next one, I think probably my last one for the night, definitely. The Steel Land.
Ooh, yes.
This was cool.
Yes, this was awesome.
This kind of alternate reality thing, where there was a lot of futuristic technology, but for whatever reason, a lot of the kind of knights, like suits of armor, sword play stuff was still around. And,
big fucking swords too, like.
Yeah.
Because obviously the suits of armor were now
mechanized, basically.
Mechanized.
Yes.
They could actually have those big fucking swords.
That's it. It's kind of like the arms race continued along, but just with swords and lances and even the horses had exoskeletons and that sort of thing. It was really cool. But yeah, played out as an interesting kind of, not quite an RTS. It wasn't at that level, but you had like a small squad, larger than a squad, smaller than an army. I'm not sure what you kind of really call it, like a troop, maybe.
They never really spelled it out in the game, which was weird.
No, they kind of didn't say it.
They kind of skirt around the question. You're like, what? Someone said, what do you call this little band gathering? And so anyway,
even the subtitles just said like indistinguishable.
They just mumbled under their breath. They
must have
couldn't
been
quite
a weird
land.
dev in joke or something. But yeah, you picked up more people as you went along, and you were kind of this underdog troop band, whatever. Sub-army squad fighting against these much bigger, you'd take on hundreds of enemies at once as you'd come across these actual armies. Yeah,
which is very Dynasty Warriors.
Yeah, there was an aspect of Dynasty Warriors in there. You kind of just like doing these attacks and sweeping, 5-10 people down, knocking them down
one
once,
hit.
in one hit. But it was cool. And the sound effects as your suit would power in and you'd do these, these attacks, hearing sort of all of the gears shifting and it's really cool.
Combining, the idea between a real-time strategy, like you're going to have to, command your group /band/troop around, but then also being able to launch down into the commander, skewer 15 enemies with your lance.
That's it. Yeah.
Throw them off to the side, wipe them off like it was nothing. Pull out a massive sword that just gets bigger as he.
Oh yeah, well you
hits
had
the
those great
button.
effects as like exactly. Yeah, it all kind of constructed itself.
Swipe and take out 100 soldiers in one swipe, and then you can quickly throw back out to.
Well, I loved how they kind of
control the group and move.
Almost made the realistic physics work that like a sword that long, the end of it is traveling so much faster than what's closer to you.
What's closer to you is traveling.
Right.
Well, it travels further.
It travels further. Like, anyway, whatever it was, the end of your sword did a lot of damage.
Yes. It gathered a fuckload of speed by the end.
That's it.
What I liked doing in this game, and I'm not sure whether you did the same, but I would actually use the rest of my group /squad/troop, whatever, to sheepdog everyone into the range.
Yeah, there were some good tactics you could do. If you wanted to micromanage a bit, and like you said, jump out to the top view. And I liked the way that you had essentially like a Zeppelin up there, basically. Like there was a physical thing, but again, just like decked out in steel. So it didn't even make sense with how heavy this thing would be. But somehow
exactly.
It all does make sense. It's all on the aesthetic, which is cool. I loved it. But yeah, you could go up there and really sort of send your other units around to line up for those special attacks. Absolutely. Some good strategies there.
Well, there is one more thing that I would like to mention, and I did think that it was pretty awesome that they did this. They turned all the all the bard style music into like heavy metal covers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it did kind of feel a bit like another game that I liked this year, but I don't know whether it would make my top 10, but Metal Hellsinger.
Yeah.
Yeah. That had a good soundtrack, but I think this one just, I don't know, there's something about like these games that we've been checking out on the dark web. They're just so much better than what's actually being released.
Yeah. If you guys haven't like downloaded your Onion Tor browser and jacked into the glass onion of the dark web,
you're missing out.
You're missing out. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite song. Do you remember how it went? It was Dragon's Dance from this game.
I kind of remember that one.
Go on, you were singing it to me the other day.
Yeah, like Reign of the Dragons.
Yes.
Dance of the Hell Knights. Together they will sing and fuck all night. Yeah, it was pretty. Technically, that was two different words rhyming night, Hell Knights with night. So I gave it a pass, even though it was a bit clunky.
Yeah. No. But it was a KNIT.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, two different words technically, even if they're.
And then you could have done Fortnite in there as well, and you could have just used the NIT version, and that would have been fine. It's like three different words.
Exactly. But anyway, yeah, that was a good song.
So I know. I suppose we should actually go through, what we couldn't quite talk about now.
Lightning round.
Yeah. So. Another game that I really enjoyed was Cool Boxing Slaughter, in which you were basically boxing through like ice boxes, and it was, it was, I don't know, just a cool 2D beat 'em up that, just all boxing, all ice all the time.
All boxing, all ice all the time. Cool.
Yeah.
I quite like the Spell in the Dark. Which is this fun, like, horror game that used, like, magic spells that you had to cast, using your mouse, or, there was a VR version, but I didn't have mine connected, so I couldn't play it. Yeah. But it worked with the mouse as well, having to cast them to keep the lights on, basically. Like, you had to get away from the creatures, you were casting spells. It's cool.
Yeah. Another one that I really enjoyed was, it was Hamster Crusader, which was one of those, like, what do you call them? The spiritual sequel to the Crusader No Remorse, but with a hamster.
Yeah.
It was the hamster in wheel. All the red armor and in that isometric view, going through the different space stations, just kicking the ass out of all the enemy aliens. Yeah,
it's cool. I really liked a mutually assured attachment, which was one of these two-player games, two-player only games, but you were attached by handcuffs. It was very much like what was that Adam Sandler movie? Buddy. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, essentially you had to solve these puzzles and figure out how to do them while being attached by one hand. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't talk about that one earlier, actually. I feel like there's a lot that we could talk about there, but I guess it's a lightning round.
It's a lightning round. Endless Rally. That they took the feeling of Sega Rally and just
made it
endless.
An endless runner, essentially. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't really an endless runner,
but you know what I mean.
I mean, you were always sort of, trying to get away. You were trying to get away. You were drifting through, but you obviously had to keep an eye on your fuel and all that sort of stuff, and see if you passed like a petrol station, could you just quickly stop, or was the horde going to come catch you?
Right. Yeah.
And by horde, I mean, obviously the huge time wall that was coming right at you. Yeah. They didn't explain what the horde really was, but
there's no time.
I just
get the fuck out of there.
I've really, really enjoyed this game. I thought, using the good old graphics from Sega Rally, was just...
There's a lot of that retro style graphic thing going on. Like, it's cool. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And my final one I wanted to talk about was...
oh, no, I've got one more that I wanted to talk about. So you think about another one as well after this one?
It doesn't have to be even. It's fine.
Okay.
If I think of one, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Okay.
Satan on Wheels. Was really cool. I liked the way that you started just with one wheel. So essentially, Satan on a unicycle going along, setting things on fire. It's very much just a sort of almost a playground-y sort of game, physics playground with fire propagation. But then you'd upgrade to more and more wheels, which is really cool. So you get to, obviously a bicycle, tricycle, quad bike. Then, funnily enough, they went back to a bicycle, except it was like a 5-wheeled, 5-seater bicycle. And you had some demons on behind you. That was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially every wheel you got was a level. It was fun.
Yeah. I know it's going against our rules.
Yeah.
Because it's not from the dark web. But something I have to mention is Elden Ring. It was really good. If you don't know what Elden Ring, then where the fuck have you been? It was really good. That was.
I don't play non-dark web games, Trevor. I've never heard of that. What's it about? 3-second version.
3-second version. George R.R. Martin meets Dark Souls.
Okay. Yeah, there was a new Monkey Island game this year too, so we should probably mention that. You know, yeah.
Oh, cool.
That's probably up there on mine. So.
Well, there's no point talking about that. We don't obviously. Don't have time to actually review like that game. You sure a new Monkey Island came out?
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Okay,
but it was on it's on the above ground.
I'd like to return. I'd like to return to the Monkey Island series.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah,
you should. You might find out the real secret if you're lucky.
Cool.
Anyway, I think what
was the name of that Monkey Island?
I don't remember. Thank you for joining us this week. If you want to find all of our previous episodes online, including our Game of the Year episodes, have we done that every year since we started? I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, originally
ideas.
Originally we were doing real
props
fake ideas, and now we're doing real games. It's a bit different.
Yeah. But yeah, go back and give those a listen. podchaser.com/bitstorm.
And if you like the song that we play at the start and end of each episode, that song is Mount Defiance off of the album Containment Failure by the band Kuradust.
That's right. So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott, and surprise! Badminton. Go! Shit! I lost. Mum, you okay?
Get this cock out of my mouth!